The moment we came into Marshwinds for the first time, I knew that I wanted a moss wall right when you came in the front door. But it's a huge space, 10 plus feet tall, 3 feet wide. A little bit of research showed me those are gonna run anywhere $15,000 up. Not an option for us at this moment. So I got to work creating, researching, building my own. I started with marine grade plywood and frame wood. This is to help prevent warping in humid environments, and so it's easier to move later on. I created my 10 by 3 board and built the frame around it. In the meantime, I was doing a lot of research on different types of moss. There are so many. For starters, you need to decide between a living moss wall, which is something that you're gonna have watering access, or a preserved moss wall, which is moss that was once alive and is now not, because it has been preserved. Finally made the decisions of what kinds of moss I wanted to get. It was a lot of guesswork in terms of how much I need. I did end up with about 20% more than I actually needed, but if I'm being honest, I was really glad that I had that because I changed my mind a lot through the process and wanted to make sure that I could trade out without worrying I was gonna run out. Next, I got to work sanding and painting the frame. So you don't want any splinters, and after we had ripped the boards so that they would be the exact width and dimensions that we wanted, you had to sand before the black paint went on. Next, I got to work laying things out within the frame on the board. What I ended up doing, because I'm such a visual person, is I physically laid the moss onto the board. And it actually took me multiple iterations to get this how I liked it. I would get the board 3/4 of the way full and I would take it all back off. I knew I wanted the swirly river piece going up the middle. Because we live on a river, that was kind of the inspiration for that piece. I also talked a lot, like my dad is super creative. He was instrumental, as was John, in helping me get my board and my frame and all together. My mom weighed in on which types of moss she thought would look good where. Nev even played a big role. Once I had the river laid out, it was her idea. Oh, you need to frame it the whole way with these thicker dark green pieces. It was truly a collaborative effort to pull all of this together. But once I got the river part going up the center, then I started building around it and the vision really took shape. So over the next several days, I got everything on the board, it looked perfect, and I did feel very overwhelmed that I was gonna have to take it all back off to glue it. So what I ended up doing is working in maybe 1 foot square sections where I had a giant piece of cardboard. I would move the section onto it, put the liquid nails underneath, and then put each piece back and press down. In terms of adhesive, do your research. There are a lot of different types of adhesive that you can use. The main thing you want to do is make sure it is floral safe, because if you use the wrong type of adhesive, it can make your moss dry out quicker, it can make it crispy, it can damage it. I went with liquid nails for the underneath support. You can also use floral safe glue gun for more delicate pieces. I ended up not using a lot of that because I found the liquid nails was much more secure, which is what I wanted. Before I get to the fun part, I also wanted to have it tie in to our new property, Marshwinds, which is dripping with Spanish moss, which is that gray, curly, and our property has a lot of it. So I wanted a way to pull that moss in to use on our project as well. So what you can do if you want to do that with Spanish moss is make sure that you boil it for a few minutes, or you can use a microwave. I'm not sure the time limit for that, but by boiling or heating your Spanish moss, it kills any bugs, anything that you don't want in your house, and then you let it dry. So that's what I did at some point during the process, let it all dry out for several days. It does make it a little more brittle, but just get more than you're gonna need and you will have plenty left over. Then came the fun part. Again, my dad and my husband were instrumental in getting this thing up onto the wall because it was quite heavy. We used 3/4 inch plywood, we had 1 inch frame. The moss actually didn't add a ton of weight to it, but You'll want to give thought to what kind of wall you're hanging it on. Ours was going directly into wood, so we didn't have to do a whole lot of prep work. I know a lot of people use French cleats, whether or not you're going to need anchors, etc. You'll want to do research on that. But getting it up on the wall was such a full circle moment, and seeing it vertically was just incredible because it ended up taking me about 2.5 weeks start to finish building the whole thing. And just watching it come to life was so special. It looks incredible, just like we wanted in our entryway. Granted, it's the only thing done in our house right now, but I can only imagine how amazing it's going to be once everything is painted and our furniture gets here. It's just everything I wanted it to be and more. So really glad I didn't spend the $15,000 or more. This one clocked in at about $800, give or take. Not sure I would do it again because it was definitely quite a learning experience, but I am so, so glad that I did it at least once. It's everything we wanted.